Okay. No. She's mouthing, do we want to start over? The answer is no, because my thing with these videos is you just let go. All the mistakes, all the BS, you just gotta let it go. She's over there laughing at me already. So this is more music. We like to do records. I like to do records. It's kind of my thing. This is my first video that I've done without lovely away girl over there. And I would put the camera on her, but she's asked that I not for this video. So all you people, I'm used to leaning on her in the video with me. Do not laugh. This is solo away male. So we have some records down here. Really what I wanted to do is I wanted to kind of do a quick how to start a record collection. What are some good records to start a record collection with? So I started out with 6 records that are like, they're easy to find at your local record store or a thrift store. Most of these you can pick up for between $1 and $5. I got 6 of them, and they're kind of cornerstones of, hey, buy these albums. The first one, and these are 6. I've got 17 albums total, but these are 6 kind of cornerstones, get started. The first one is Elton John, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. This album, it's actually a double album. I tried to stay away from double albums but in this video, but I ended up having several of them, unfortunately. But Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, so it's a double album. This is called Gatefold, so it opens up. This is actually a 3-piece, like so, but whenever the albums open up like that, that's called Gatefold, in case you didn't know that. But you'll recognize a lot of songs on here: Funeral for a Friend, Candle in the Wind, Benny and the Jets, which is like one of my favorite songs, probably my favorite Elton John song of all time, Benny and the Jets. Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting. Got a lot of good songs on this album. Elton John, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, I think it's from 72, 1973. So start out there. The next album, one that's a great starter. This is Asia or Aja by Steely Dan. Depends on how you'll hear it. You'll hear it pronounced many different ways. But several songs on here: Deacon Blues, Peg, Josie. Those are the 3 songs that you'll probably recognize. But this is a great album. It's actually an album that even a lot of audiophiles, they'll tune their stereos, their sound to this album, because there's a lot of horns, a lot of strings, some good percussion in there. Steely Dan, Asia. This is 1977. I tried to mix, in these first few, they're mostly from the 70s, but with the others, I tried to get kind of a mix in there of 70s and 80s. The next one that's kind of a cornerstone, you'll see this album everywhere. That's because there was a ton of them produced. Peter Frampton, Frampton Comes Alive. It's actually a live album, but this is really what kind of put Peter Frampton on the map. Songs on this one: Show Me the Way, obviously. Baby, I Love Your Way. What's the other one I'm looking for? Do You Feel Like We Do? Again, it's a live album. If she's over here just nodding her head,
Can you set that aside so we can listen to it later?
Like a robot. But if there's a record collector out there that has over, let's say, 20 or 30 records, the chances of this being in that collection, very high. Easy to find, great listen. Supertramp, Breakfast in America. And by the way, these are all kind of how we started our collection with these albums. Kind of fun, kind of easy listening, nothing too difficult. Of course, on this album, I think this is 78, 79. The Logical Song, Breakfast in America, Take the Long Way Home. Another, you heard a ton of these songs at radio back in the late 70s, early 80s, over and over again. Kind of an iconic album cover. But again, great cornerstone if you're just getting started. Say you're buying your first 10 or 20 records. Supertramp, Breakfast in America. Last one of the 6. Was that 6 already? I guess this is 5. Last one, Pink Floyd. Fleetwood Mac, Rumours. That's not a gatefold. Fleetwood Mac, Rumours. Again, probably Fleetwood Mac's most popular album of all time. Dreams, Don't Stop, Go Your Own Way, The Chain, You Make Lovin' Fun, Gold Dust Woman. Yeah, there's like 8 songs on this album that were all big hits. So again, great band, great album, perfect cornerstone for starting a collection. Pretty easy to find because they sold tons and tons of them. Fleetwood Mac, Rumours, 78, 1977. Okay, we're at 6 minutes. Bear with me. So these next ones, I've tried to get a good mix of 70s and 80s. Most of this stuff, we like to just put one on one evening, either doing dishes or just kind of picking the house up a little bit, or like on a Sunday afternoon or something like that. Just kind of put one on and just let it play. I think that's one of the biggest things with albums is we don't really listen to music in this digital age. We don't listen to music like that anymore. So just put the album on and let it play all the way through. When it finishes up a side, turn it over, let that side play through. And you really discover songs and music that you've never really listened to before. So the first one out of the gate, Al Stewart, Year of the Cat. Gatefold. Another one, you'll find a ton of these out there. Usually they're $1, maybe $2, depending on condition. But the Year of the Cat is the song that was the big hit off this album for Al Stewart. But this whole album is just really just an easy listening, really mellow, enjoyable. Kick back, have a glass of wine or a Coke or whatever, and just take it easy listening to it. Al Stewart, Year of the Cat. I think that says 75. Next one, Eddie Money. We listened to, like early on, I don't know why, but a lot of these mid-70s, early 80s Eddie Money. They're great for 1 or 2 radio play hits, but the whole albums are good. Just good, easy listening stuff. This album has Baby Hold On, which was a big hit for him. 2 Tickets to Paradise, which is a fun song. But any of the early Eddie Money stuff is great to listen to. I don't know what the name of this album is, actually. We'll just call it Eddie Money. You can see the album cover right there. I think that's 79, 77. Close. I'm in the 70s, guys. This one's a little bit of a sleeper. This is Bad Company, Burning Sky. Bad Company has a bunch of albums. This was their first album. Probably their least popular album. This is 1975. But this has got a couple songs on it. Burning Sky was their big one. But there's a couple other songs. This one doesn't have the songs listed unless you pull the record out. But to me, this is one of their best albums. Really solid. It's got that mid 70s, just kind of. It's got a pretty strong rock and roll edge, but it's not too heavy. I love this album. This is probably my favorite Bad Company album, Burning Sky. Shooting up to the 80s, Don Henley, Building the Perfect Beast. I think this is probably, even though Don Henley had several albums in the 80s that were great, I think this, in my opinion, this is probably his best album. Getting a little bit of a glare right there. But Boys of Summer is on this. That's probably my favorite Don Henley song. Sunset Grill is on here. All She Wants to Do Is Dance, which was a popular song. Driving with Your Eyes Closed was a popular song. Another good album that you can, I don't know what that's coming from the TV, I guess. But another album you can just kind of put on an afternoon, or if you're doing some cleaning or something like that, and just let it play all the way through. Love this album, and it's easy to find out there. This is going back to the 70s. This is actually the Cars. A little bit more of kind of a new wave / punk edge. The Cars, they came out of New York, if I'm not mistaken. Kind of the same scenes like the Ramones and Blondie and stuff like that. This is 1976, and I can't say enough about the Cars. I think they were a little bit ahead of their time. This is 76. Songs on here: Good Times Roll, My Best Friend's Girl, Just What I Needed, You're All I've Got Tonight, Moving in Stereo. Moving in Stereo was a big song on the, what was the name of the movie, babe?
What?
Fast Times at Ridgemont High soundtrack. But this album, it's their first album, great band, probably underrated for their time. Listen to the Cars. Back to the 80s, Bryan Adams. If you were fortunate enough, you saw us a little summer of '69 dance party with this album. I think this is Reckless. Yeah, the name of this album is Reckless. Songs on this: One Night Love Affair, Run to You, great song. Summer of '69, great song. Heaven, which was a ballad. It's Only Love, which is a great duet with Tina Turner. Again, Bryan Adams, this probably his best album. Great one to listen to. Not too heavy, kind of poppy. Just easy listening. We got 4 more left. This one, when I was younger coming up, a lot of you will recognize the album cover. Bruce Springsteen, Born in the USA. I was not a Bruce Springsteen fan growing up, but my wife kind of got me listening to Bruce Springsteen a little bit. We saw him in concert a couple years ago, and I have actually become a fan. I don't like Born in the USA particularly well. I can tolerate it. I don't particularly like Dancing in the Dark particularly well, but they're both on these albums. They were both huge hits back then. I think this was 82, 83. But it's got a lot of good songs on it. Born in the USA, Cover Me, I'm on Fire, great song. Glory Days. My favorite song on this album is called My Hometown, and it's just real slow, low key. Have a glass of wine, put it on, put the volume low. Don't turn this stuff up too loud. Just let it, just listen. You don't have to crank it. A little slow listen. Good album. Maybe top to bottom my favorite Springsteen album. John Fogerty, center field. John Fogerty, lead singer of CCR, Creedence Clearwater Revival. This was probably his most popular album he ever produced. Another one you can find in a lot of different places. It's usually $2 or $3, but had a couple radio hits. But this is a real easy listen. Old Man Down the Road. What's other? Big Train. Center Field. Those were the 2 big ones. The Old Man Down the Road and Center Field on this album. But it's just a real easy listening. Again, you don't have to turn the volume up real high. Just kind of let it play in the background, and you really appreciate it. I was not a John Fogerty fan. I was not really a CCR fan, but I love this album. Men at Work, this is 1982. Men at Work, Business as Usual. Biggest hit off this album was Down Under. Also hit Who Can It Be Now. Be Good Johnny was pretty popular, though not to the same extent as the other 2. But this album right here, I really think this might be one of the most underrated bands of the 80s. This album all the way through is just clean, engineered. The engineering on it is very good. You can hear all the instruments. They're playing a lot of different instruments, a lot of stuff going on in the background. Colin Hay singing is incredible. You just got to pick it up and listen to it. I don't know why, but I looked for this album for a couple months before I found it. I found a good copy. I snagged it up, and then all of a sudden I started finding it everywhere. So it's actually a pretty easy album to find. Very popular. A little bit of a sleeper, The Firm. I think this is 85. Can't read the date. I think this is 85. The Firm, with Paul Rodgers from Bad Company, Jimmy Page, lead guitarist for Led Zeppelin. Couple songs on here. One you recognize, maybe Radioactive was a minor hit. Satisfaction Guaranteed is another one. This has, to me, you can really hear the Jimmy Page influence in the album, but you can also really hear the Bad Company influence as far as Paul Rodgers being a lead vocalist. I think this is a huge, huge sleeper album. It doesn't get a lot of, people they don't talk about it, but man, I think this is a very boring video. It's boring video, isn't it?
What does sleeper mean?
Sleeper. It means like people don't really know about it.
Oh.
Like it's a really good album, but people just don't really know about it. So it's
Okay,
kind
I
of a
didn't know
sleeper.
that.
This is a boring video.
It's a great video. I'm listening.
The last one. This is really one that kind of, and I throw this one just in as a bonus. This is one that really, I would say, was probably one of the top 5 albums that started our record collection. We still listen to it today. Urban Cowboy soundtrack. I've got a few albums that actually my aunt bought new. This is one of them. I inherited her collection, and this soundtrack right here, it just kind of covers everything. And we'll put this one on at night. We'll dance to it. We'll do a little two-stepping in the living room. Spin around the dance floor a few times. But
That's
you
another
got
way to start your collection is to inherit it.
Jimmy Buffett, Charlie Daniels Band, Eagles, Dan Fogelberg, Johnny Lee, Bonnie Raitt, Kenny Rogers, Bob Skaggs, Bob Seger, Joe Walsh. I mean, come on. How many? Of course, it was a great movie. Everybody saw the movie. There he is riding the old mechanical bull right there. But this, if you just want to have a good time on a Saturday night and not go anywhere, it's 2 albums deep. Go buy this. It'll get you an hour's worth of listening to. Great album. And if you're lucky, your wife will even dance with you a little bit. That'll almost wrap up the video. One other thing I wanted to say is if you're just starting out, I'm a real advocate of older vintage equipment. You don't have to spend a ton of money to get decent sounding stuff. I know people out there will go and they'll spend, $600 or $1,000 or $1,500 and just getting started. Don't do that. Go buy solid, in my opinion. Go buy solid used equipment. You can go buy turntables now, new turntables, starting at $89, $99. Don't do that, in my opinion. Go buy a good 70s, like a Techniques turntable or a Pioneer turntable. You can find a good turntable for between $100 and $150. That's a good piece of equipment. Receivers, same price. Go spend $100 to $150. You'll get a good receiver from this is from 1978, this receiver right here. It's a Techniques SA300. I think I paid right at $100 for it, and it'll do everything I want. I'm not running a club here. I'm not in a club. I'm not trying to make the neighborhood dance. We just like listening to it in our house, and so it's got plenty of power to do whatever I need. Pick you up a couple speakers, and away you go. You can get into it for about $300 with good equipment, good solid equipment. Unfortunately, it'll probably just grow from there. So that's it. Baby, you're sitting over there. Do you have anything to add?
That was awesome.
That was awesome. I thought it was kind of boring just being on my end, but
I didn't think
comment below. Tell me my head's too shiny or the glare on the records was weird or something like that. We love you, but the Lord loves you more. Out.